Second, we're going to dive right into our feature presentation. We have three wonderful speakers for you today, and our topic is Building a Safer School Bike Brigade, Tips on Getting Started and Spreading the Success. We're going to start out with a short introduction from Lauren Marchetti, Director of the National Center for Safe Routes to School from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, followed by Kyle Johnson, the founder of Bike Train PDX in Portland, Oregon. And then going last is Gina Overshiner, the Bike Program Manager from the PedNet Coalition of Columbia, Missouri, and she is joined today by a 7th grade student at Smithton Middle School named Sophia Casto. So with that, we're going to move on to our first presenter. So if you give me a moment to get Lauren's slides set up here. Okay, and Lauren, I'll turn the phone over to you.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. It's very exciting for me to be talking today about the first National Bike to School Day as part of a webinar on bike brigades. It's a perfect complement. And what I wanted to talk about was how May is Bike Month, and it's been Bike Month for many years now. But for the first time, May 9th is dedicated to being all about the kids. We're going to be celebrating the first ever National Bike to School Day on May 9th. It's with schools around the country. And this day is building on the popularity of International Walk to School Day. For a long time now, that has actually been Walk and Roll to School Day in the United States. But we wanted to also have a day in the spring that really focused on bicycling to school and how fun and safe it can be. So we're really encouraging everyone to join with us. We're partnering with the League of American Bicyclists since they coordinate National Bike Month, but we're also going to be partnering with lots of other organizations around the country as well. What I wanted to talk about today and what's on the slide that you're looking at is we are taking the International Walk to School Day website that we've been hosting for years, and in very early April it's going to have a whole new look like the one that's on the slide, and it's going to focus on both Walk to School Day and Bike to School Day, but also on how to do walking and biking events throughout the year. And that's why I'm so pleased that we're tied to these speakers today and what they're doing already so much along these lines. So as I was saying a second ago, it'll be a new website. It'll be walkbiketoschool.org. If you key that in now, you will go to the old website, but early in April it will switch over to this new website. We also have a new logo that's specifically about Bike to School Day, and that logo will be available now on the Walk to School Day website as it currently is. We're also excited, and what you can see on the slide also is a new mapping tool that's going to be called Map a Route, and you'll be able to map walking and bicycling routes to school on that and share it with whoever you want to, but it won't be public if you don't want to share it with the whole world. So we're excited about that. We're excited about some new bike-focused resources we're going to have. One in particular is, so you've only got 7 days left, you can still plan a bike-to-school event. But there'll be other things, tip sheets for parents, for students, for how to plan a big event, a small event, whatever size you're interested in. So what's my ask today? I'd love for as many of you as possible on the phone to get involved. Getting involved could mean registering a school for this first national event. We really recognize that these days have been going on in different fashions around the country for a while, but this is the first coming together to celebrate it nationally, and we want to celebrate the pioneers that join us on this event. For the adults or other people who might want to consider themselves resources, you can sign up to be that as well. And there is an advantage to signing up early, because whether you sign up as a resource or as a school to have an event, we're going to have drawings each week leading up to Bike to School Day, in which we're going to be giving away a Saris bike rack to whoever is selected in the drawing. So registering early means you have more opportunities to win. So in closing, I just want to thank you for your interest in biking to school, for being a part of this webinar today, and encourage you to please help us make May 9th be all about the kids biking to school. Thank you, Michelle.
Great. Thank you so much, Lauren. And at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our next speaker, Kyle Johnson.
Hello, my name is Kyle Johnson, and I organize bike trains in Portland, Oregon. Organizing bike trains has never really been my full-time job, and most of the work that I've done around bike trains has been volunteering. I'm not a parent, and when I started doing bike trains, I didn't really have any connections to schools. I just thought that bike trains were a cool idea and something whose time had come. I see bike trains as sort of taking the idea of safe routes to school, where we're training people to be safe and building this better infrastructure, and sort of taking it to the next level, where with bike trains we sort of create the structure for people to engage in sort of the culture and mission of safe routes to school. Portland is kind of a unique place in the world of American transportation, and it's kind of a unique place to sort of be doing bicycling and walking things. This is a map of Portland, and there's a line around the Portland region, and that's the urban growth boundary. And about 30 years ago, Portland established this growth boundary to stop urban sprawl, and so you can't develop past this line. In Portland, we've also been very fortunate. We've had a pretty substantial investment over the last 10 years in a lot of transit, and a kind of a modest investment in bicycling, but that modest investment has really paid off. And if you're ever looking for a graph for why your community should invest more in bicycling, this right here is your graph. The blue shows how much in Portland we've invested in the 3 modes of transportation, and then the red bars represent the increase in daily ridership of those 3 modes. And you can see that for not a very much money, we've been able to increase our ridership in bicycling by quite a lot. And so in Portland, we have about 6% of all commutes in the city done by bicycle. The national average is probably maybe 1% or fewer. But compared to maybe like a place like the Netherlands that has about 50% of all commutes by bicycle, it's not that as much as it could be. And so whenever I'm sort of talking about bike trains and safe routes to school and getting kids to sort of bike to school more, I always like to show this video of what it's like to bicycle school in the Netherlands. And the Netherlands is kind of a unique place in that about 50% of all trips are done by bicycle, or 90% of all trips to school are done by bicycle. And so this is biking to school on a day in the Netherlands, and a couple things to look for is just count how many kids and adults you see wearing helmets. Also try to count how many bicycles you see and how many conflicts you see between people in cars and people in bicycles. And I think that this video is really inspiring in that it shows what it looks like to have a place where there's a substantial investment in bicycling and sort of the kind of community that creates around the school and the different feeling that it creates showing up to school. I really like how there's a lot of people walking around. It seems like it's a very alive place, and there's a lot of community being developed there. So you can kind of get the idea there. And I think that video is really inspiring to show sort of what's possible. And I sort of see bike trains sort of building up this culture that someday maybe we'll have maybe not 90% of all people biking to school, but a sizable proportion. So in Portland, here's a little background information about bike trains. Last year, people rode to school on a bike train over 3,200 times. At the start of the school year, there was just one Portland school that had a bike train, and by the end of the year, we had over 13 schools. The largest bike train had over 154 people. Several had over 100 people. And at the beginning of this year, we had a bike train conference, and there were over 21 schools that attended the conference to sort of learn about how to start a bike train at their school. And at the bottom of this slide, you can see this is the official Portland bike train logo that a parent helped put together. All the bike trains that I've helped organize in Portland are elementary schools, and I'd say about 80 to 90% of the kids riding on the bike trains are riding with their families. So it's not just one parent sort of leading this group of people, but it's sort of families that are biking to school together. This is a map of all the different bike train routes from last year. The dots are the different meetup spots along the way. And so the bike train starts at maybe a parent's house and then makes its way to school, and there's these meetup spots along the way, and people sort of join the bike train until at the end it's this big group of people all biking to school together. This is a picture of one of the meetup spots. A lot of times parents put up signs or something at an intersection to sort of say that this is the bike train meetup spot, and they have the time on them. And then at a lot of schools, we also have big maps in the school entryway that have the bike train route on it, contact information, and the different meetup times. So when people go to school, they can see how to join the bike train. This is a picture of the very first bike train that I helped organize in Portland. This was about 2 years ago. And I sort of had this idea of starting bike trains, and I saw that video of people biking to school in the Netherlands, and I thought that was really cool. And I told myself that they can do it, then we in Portland should be able to do it too. And so I went out to the school and I put up a bunch of posters saying, I'll bike with you to school. I've got this idea to start a bike train. Let's make it happen. And nobody really contacted me. And then I got word from another family that there's a family that was interested in learning how to and starting to bike to school. But they didn't really have any experience biking to school or riding bikes. And so one morning every week I would bike to their house and bike with them to school. And on the back of my bike I had the sign that said the Beach Bike Train. They were going to Beach Elementary. And the first couple weeks it was just me and this family biking to school together. And then people started asking, what is this bike train? More people started to join us, and then more routes started forming about the bike train.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're getting some pretty bad interference on the line. I'm not sure if it's just from you using speakerphone or not.
Is that better?
Right
Hello?
now it is. I'll let you know if it comes back. It just got to the point where we could barely hear you, so I just wanted to...
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
And so after a couple weeks, more people started joining, and then on the last bike train to school, we had the principal came out and joined us, and we had over 100 people riding to school on the bike train together. And then so the following year, I sort of took this idea, all right, we've got this really cool idea of a bike train, and it was pretty successful at this one school. Maybe we can do it at other schools too. And so I put together a website and invited people to the first annual Portland Bike Train Conference. And we got people from about 4 different schools to attend, and I sort of shared the story of what had happened at Beach, and we sort of talked about how to start bike trains at these different schools. And then for the next couple of months, I would go out every morning to a different school and ride with those parents in their bike train and sort of talk to them about what was happening in other schools and sort of share the experience and sort of make them feel like they're a part of this larger movement and community. And one of the things that I think has been really successful in sort of my efforts in organizing bike trains, and one of the themes is sort of connecting people to this larger community and making them feel like they're not the only ones sort of biking to school. And if you're able to do that, then then these things sort of take on momentum and energy of their own, and are much better able to sustain themselves. One of the other things I did is I created a bike train Facebook page and made all the different bike train leaders, administrators, so that they could post pictures and sort of share stories about their bike train with other people. So this is there's a bicycle parade in Portland, and I invited all the bike train leaders and their kids to join us in the parade. And that's me and the tie there. And this was actually, it just coincided with my birthday, which was kind of nice. And so we got all the bike train leaders together and their kids and marched in this parade, which was kind of cool. This is a picture of Jim Oberstar. He's a former congressman from Minnesota, and he's one of the people that helped found the Safe Routes to School, and he came down to Beach to sort of check out what we were doing there. And in this picture, he's sitting on the golden bicycle. And the golden bicycle was a spray-painted gold bicycle that I made that would go to the school that had the most bike train riders every month. And so every month, the bike train leaders would sort of send me how many riders they got, and then the school that got the most, I would go and bring this bike and park it at their school and sort of just leave it there as a trophy for a month. This is another little event that I did for the 1,000th bike train rider. I gave him a little ride to school in this chariot. It's kind of fun. We also had a bucket building party where a bike train parent sort of hosted people at her house, and we made bike buckets that can go on your back rack. And in the buckets you can sort of put things that you might need on your bike train, or backpacks or whatever. And then the kids helped decorate all the buckets. Another parent hosted a card making party, and we got together at her house and sort of just made a bunch of cards that said thanks for riding your bike, and then on the back of it, it sort of had some information about the bike train. And one of the things that I sort of learned very early on in sort of organizing, especially with a lot of parents, is that you don't want to have meetings. You want to have parties. And so I like to have parties, and I like to do them at different parents' houses, because then at least you know that parent will be there. And then that parent also becomes sort of really good advertising for your meeting. And they're going to try to invite their friends. So it's not just you who are doing all the promotion for an event. This is at a school that we're having some trouble sort of getting a lot of interest in the bike train. It's sort of in outer East Portland where there's not as much a bicycling culture. And so on a weekend, I helped organize a Critical Mass ride, which is just a weekend bike ride. And we sort of advertised for it, and I was really surprised at how many people showed up for it. And we biked around on a Saturday afternoon to a bunch of community farms in the neighborhood, and got to play with some chickens and ate cookies. And it's all sort of about like building this culture. And I sort of see bike trains as sort of one step in this culture. This is a bike shelter that one of the bike train leaders helped finance and build. And you can see that on the shelter, there's hooks for the golden bicycle. This particular bike train parent got really into the bike train competition and really liked having the golden bike. And then the different bike train riders actually got to help build the bike shelter, which I thought was kind of cool. One of the other things that I did is I sort of created these bike to school days, where I would go to a school and sort of just put out a lawn sign that says that, you know, next Friday is the bike to school day, and I'd work with the bike train parent to sort of help promote it at the school. And then I'd show up on that morning and have hot chocolate, and we do a raffle for a helmet. And I sort of talk to parents at that school sort of about bike trains and biking to school, and use it as sort of a promotion event for the bike train. This year, one of the fun things that we did was we created a bike train movie, and it's on YouTube. If you get a chance after this presentation, you should go and check it out. And it's a story of this girl, and she's being driven to school, and she sees this boy that she likes being biked to school. And so the next day, she goes and gets her bike out of storage and fixes it up, and then joins him on the bike train, and they bike to school together. And I entered this movie in a film festival in Portland, and it's actually going to be shown on a big movie screen next month, which I'm kind of excited about.
Well, I hate to interrupt you, but the interference came back.
Yeah, I'm not on speakerphone.
Perhaps your phone is, you have a cell phone too close to the computer? Are you on?
I don't know.
Seemed to help a bit.
What was that?
Whatever you did last time seemed to help quite a bit. Currently on speakerphone?
No, it's on normal phone. I don't know what to do.
I guess I have to go forward at this time. Hopefully, it seems like it's just faded again. Hopefully, we'll get through the rest of it without it coming back.
Okay. So one of the other things that we've done this year is a family bike rental program for families to try out riding bikes to school. And so I fundraise for these bikes, and families can rent them out for a month to sort of try out biking to school. They don't have to make the initial investment of buying a bicycle. They can sort of try it out and see if it works. And then I've also tried to sort of connect these families that rent the family bike rentals to other bike train parents at their school. And so this is a bike ride that we went on one Saturday with the family that rented the bikes, and we went over to biked over to some food carts in Portland, and it was a fun time. Another thing that I've been working on is a bike train competition with the school in Portland that is really into the Golden Bike competition. They're going to compete with a school from California, and to see who gets the most bike train riders for the month. We changed it from March to April. And so lastly, I want to show a video. This is of the beach bike train from this last year, where they had over 150 people biking to school together. And you can kind of get a glimpse of what it looks like, a glimpse of the Netherlands biking to school. It kind of looks a little bit similar. And it was really exciting for me to sort of see this and sort of be a part of it. And it was really just all about sort of engaging parents and getting them on board, and then letting sort of the parents be the big promoters of biking to school. And you can see there's me in my blue vest with my bike train sign in the back. And I think that one of the big things that I've learned is that, you know, as a transportation system, we sort of live and sort of interact in the transportation system based on a lot of the decisions that were made a long time ago. But that the future and the future transportation system is sort of being decided right now, and it's especially being decided at schools. And so creating opportunities for people to sort of engage in sort of a different transportation system I think is really cool and really exciting. And people want to bike to school. And so just giving them the opportunity to be able to do that is really cool, and people really like that. So thank you all very much. I'm sorry that there is some static or something. I don't know what the deal with that was. But if you have any questions, I'll be here after the presentation, and I'm going to turn it over to the next presenter.
Please close confidential. Hello, this is Gina Oversteiner with the PedNet Coalition in Columbia, Missouri, and I'm here with Sophia Casto, who's a 7th grader at Smithton. Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and get this up. Okay, so, okay, and are we on, Michelle?
I think
Yeah.
Okay. So as I said, I'm Gina Oversteiner. I'm the Bike Program Manager with the PedNet Coalition in Columbia, Missouri. I'm a mother of 2, and I have, in addition to working as a Bike Program Manager at the PedNet Coalition, I pretty much tried to raise my kids very low car. We biked to school for years, and on the first day of 5th grade, as I gave my kids the choice to bike in a pouring rainstorm or to go to school in the car, they both decided, of course, that, you know, they're kids, and so they want to ride in the rain. So we packed up some extra clothes that day. And on the way to school that morning, as we were biking in the rain, my son, who was in 5th grade at the time, said, I want to bike every single day this school year, no matter what. And that was kind of the start of the whole Bike Brigade concept and stuff, just letting kids kind of guide and have some say in when they think it's okay to bike and when it's not. And you'll kind of see more about that as we go through my presentation. But I also want to introduce Sophia here. So here's Sophia.
Hi, it's Sophia, and I bike almost every day to school, and I have this is my 2nd year. And all through elementary, I saw Gina and her group of kids coming to school, and I thought they were just the coolest group ever. And so, of course, I wanted to bike to school every day. And finally, when I entered 6th grade, I got the opportunity to bike to middle school.
So we're here to let you know all about it. So I'm trying to see, how do we switch slides, Sophia? Okay, there we go. Okay, so what is a Bike Brigade? The Bike Brigade concept is a little bit different from the bike train. With Bike Brigade, I really mean kind of, trying to bike all year, preferably every day, year-round. The focus is more on middle school and older kids. We have year-round biking available, and we really work to show how biking can be a viable means of transportation. We ride in all weather conditions. We carry all the kids' stuff. Middle school kids have lots of things they have to take to school with them. And so it's really an effort to show that biking can really be a viable means of transportation for every day getting around. And there's 3 key elements in the Bike Brigade model that we have here at Smithton. One is the Bike Pro class. We do require that kids who participate in Bike Brigade take our Bike Pro class. It's an 8-hour class. It's based on the League of American Bicyclists Traffic Skills 101 course, and it's geared toward kids, so they have very good bike handling skills and a very good understanding of how bicycles work in traffic. We do year-round Bike Brigade rides, and we also have a bike club that kind of helps the kids have a way to build a social network around cycling, and we also do a lot of extracurricular events in Bike Club. It also allows kids who maybe can't ride to school for one reason or another to be able to participate in biking, and it creates a presence in the school for biking as well. This is a picture of Smithton. There's approximately 1,000 6th and 7th grade students that go to school here. It was built in 1995 on kind of the typical suburban mega school model, and it's bordered on 3 sides by pretty heavily trafficked roads. And all of those roads are within about a mile of the school, so that kind of discourages quite a few people from biking to the school. When we started the Bike Brigade here at Smithton last year, we really worked to develop a good relationship with the school. We got a new principal last year, and she's been very supportive of the kids biking to school and just any ways to make the kids active. The previous principal was really not very supportive of biking to school, and hardly anybody biked, and the kids who did bike had to walk their bikes on school property, even in places where cars could go. And like I say, there were very, very few kids who biked at that point at all. So we worked with the new principal to develop protocols for bikes on the school property to make sure that kids on bikes and kids walking were safe. We are allowed to hold the Bike Pro classes at the school now. We promote biking activities in the school, especially through our bike club. And one thing that was a really big deal this year was the bike shelf. Because kids who bike to school have stuff, especially in the winter, like helmets and coats and gloves and rain gear and stuff. And their lockers are already really crowded with books. So they gave us a shelf this year, and the kids are really excited about the bike shelf. So the Smithton Bike Brigade, we actually have 2 bike brigades that go here. They both are about 2 miles. The Bike Brigade East Bike Brigade goes every single day, and it goes year-round, and it's primarily along a pretty heavily trafficked commercial route with a moderate traffic volume. The Bike Brigade South kids bike 2 days a week, and again, they do have the opportunity to bike year-round. They are really clamoring for daily rides, but unfortunately we just don't have the help at this point to make that happen, but we're really trying to get them to be able to ride more frequently. And the Bike Brigade South is primarily a residential route with lower traffic volumes, but I'm going to focus on Bike Brigade East because that's the one that I bike with, and that's the one that Sophia is in. So this is a picture of the route that Bike Brigade East takes, and here's my arrow, okay. So we started at Egan Street Park, and then we get on Ash Street, which, like I said, is primarily kind of a commercial, minor arterial type of a street. We cross Stadium Boulevard right here, which is a 5-lane, it's actually a state highway, it's pretty heavily trafficked, but through this area, since it's in a business area, the traffic moves relatively slow. And this intersection has a traffic light, so even though there's a lot of traffic, it's not that hard to cross. And then And then our next road that actually is more of a hassle, it's only a 3-lane road, but there's no stop sign for cross traffic. So this crossing right here at Fairview, cars go really pretty fast there, and we have to get the kids across there safely, and that can be kind of difficult. I don't know why I'm changing over every day, but the kids have gotten really good at being patient. They're great at knowing how to maneuver with traffic, how to be patient at a crossing, and then get on to school every day safely. And so far, in I guess we're close to 300 days now, with last year and this year biking every day, we haven't had any problems at those intersections. Sorry about that. And so when I kind of decided to start the Bike Brigade, as I said, I had always ridden with my own kids, and on the first day of 5th grade, my son just determined he was going to bike every single day to school. So as we moved on up into the higher level schools, we changed from a route that was primarily residential streets to this much heavier trafficked kind of commercial setting. But I thought that there might be other families who would be interested but just didn't want to let their kids ride because they had to cross Stadium and Fairview, which are 2 busy streets. So I kind of looked around within about, a half mile to a mile radius of my house. I talked to other families who had kids of my son's age who might be interested and who were biking families. We looked at all the different possible ways to get to school and picked the kind of least hilly and most reasonably trafficked route. They were all pretty heavy traffic, but some are very hilly routes. And then we organized practice rides. And every year in August, we start the first week in August, and we do Tuesday night practice rides so that families and kids who are interested in Bike Brigade can get together and actually ride the route, see how long it's going to take, see how hard it's going to be, and understand where we're going to be riding. It also gives us a chance to really assess the kids' bike handling skills and their abilities, as well as if they're going to listen, because it's really important that they listen when they're riding on kind of a more commercial type of a street, and then also get to know everybody and stuff. So that's when we do the practice rides. Okay. Then safety is obviously really important when you're biking with kids, and so of course quality property working bikes are important. We make sure that the kids have bikes in good shape. Everybody wears helmets. They have lights on their bikes, and we wear bright safety vests in the winter as it's getting darker earlier and staying darker later so the kids can be seen. We place a strong emphasis on education so that the kids understand traffic laws and how to get around safely. And then we also have all of the kids and their parents sign a safety behavior contract to make sure that they understand what the rules are and what the safety laws are and that they're expected to follow those. And we have accident protocols in place in case something does go bad. And while we've been really lucky and have only had 2 minor accidents in the past year and a half, we haven't had to use those too much. We haven't had any serious accidents, but we do have those protocols in place in case something does happen. So one thing to consider if you're going to start a bike brigade or take on something like this is that you have to be ready to be a bike mom or bike dad, and all of a sudden you're responsible for everybody's bike. You need to be able to fix things really quickly, like when a fender rubs or brakes rub or a chain falls off, which happened to Sophia the other day. You have to be able to fix that stuff really quickly, and then also remember to notify parents if there are more serious problems. They can get the bikes fixed, and the kids can get back on their bikes very quickly, you know, and be ready to keep riding, because the kids really do want to ride. You also need to be willing to carry extra stuff for the kids when they need it, because, as I said, middle schoolers, you know, in addition to just books and things, have instruments, and they're in plays, and they have projects and stuff, so you need to be willing to carry those big things for them. Be able to fix flats quickly. We have had our share of flats, and we're pretty fast at changing them. And then also do basic first aid in case somebody gets hurt so that you're ready to help out in those situations. And so here's an example of some of the stuff. We have a bike cart. Bike Brigade South uses a bike cart. I personally prefer the cargo bike. And so every Monday morning and every Friday afternoon, I haul a French horn, 2 trumpets, a cello, a clarinet, and a flute on the cargo bike. And the kids on Bike Brigade East mostly have milk crates or panniers or ways to carry their own backpacks and stuff, and they prefer carrying their smaller things. But I always have a backup, so if they have something big and heavy, I can carry that for them. And that's something to think about, especially when you're riding with older kids, is how you're going to get their stuff to and from school for them. Now, one thing that kind of happened as we kind of let kids decide when they want to ride and when they think it's okay to ride and stuff, is that last year on the first day that it was 27 degrees. It was first day below 32, and I didn't say anything to any of the kids until we got to school. And we got to school, and I was so excited because they'd ridden to school, and it was under 32 degrees, and nobody had even said anything about it. And I was just like, you guys are amazing. It's freezing, and you rode to school, and that's so cool, because I really thought that kids would just drop off, and it would just be me and my son biking through the winter. But if you look on here, you can see some examples. So what we started doing is putting white zip ties on their bikes for days below 32, red zip ties for days below 20, and then these yellowy orange zip ties are for days below 10 degrees. And then after they get so many zip ties, they get either a polar bear sticker or a penguin sticker. Like if you get 10 zip ties for below 32, you get a polar bear sticker. And then along the fender here, unfortunately my arrow went away, we have things like biking to school every day. If you rode on an exceptionally hard day, carrying some extra stuff. If you rode on a snowy day, lightning bolts for rainstorms. All kids who complete our Bike Pro class get these blue peace signs, and then this is another child who's got all of her incentives on the top tube. So those are some ways that, you know, while they're not that big of a deal and not terribly expensive, the kids are really proud of their incentives and really like to show off when they've earned something for reaching an especially challenging landmark, I guess, on cycling. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Sophia to sort of share some of her impressions about biking to school.
Okay. Well, whenever you bike, your mood and self-image definitely change. And the following are some symptoms that may occur during regular biking habits. You have a higher level of self-confidence and self-worth, and you have more energy, and your mental and physical strength and endurance totally skyrocket. It seems like in PE, it was very challenging for me before I started biking, but then I was able to start running the mile in like under 10 minutes. So actually passing the mile, and it's just easier to pay attention when you go to school and you've had that invigorating exercise. And so whenever we do sports in PE, it's not that scary anymore. It used to be like, oh no, what am I going to do? Am I going to make a fool of myself? But I've actually been able to do it. And so also you have this really nice feeling of strain in your legs. I really want to talk about this. First, it really is annoying because your muscles, you can feel them growing, and then you get used to that feeling, and you start to really, really like feeling that strain in your legs and start feeling tough and macho. And in my opinion, and a lot of the people who bike to school with me, we really agree that biking is so much better than a bus. A lot of people might think that buses are a nice way to go to school, but they're half wrong and half right. Many kids like riding the bus because it's a time for them to hang out with their friends and joke around, but there are kids that hate the bus because they don't feel safe, because the bus driver has to focus on the road, and if they don't have an assistant, then many incidents go unnoticed, and the seats provide a screen for bad activities, and so bullying, therefore, is more likely to occur. And it takes a long time to get home. In summer school, it took me almost an hour to get home, and they passed my street maybe 10 times and let me off late, maybe a block away. And it smells bad, whether that's from drugs on the bus or it just being a big car that has exhaust fumes. And it's really loud, and so you get a headache when you're on the bus. And when you bike, it's nice and peaceful. A lot of times people are surprised because I'm a girl and I bike, but I don't look at it differently just because I happen to be a girl. But sometimes girls don't bike because they'll get sweaty, the wind or the helmet will mess up their hair, or they think that they have to wear those awful spandex clothing, or that they can't wear skirts or something. And also, it's hard, and a lot of girls especially have self-confidence issues about physical things. And by the way, this is not really gender-specific. Some guys worry about sweat and hair too. But all of these problems can be solved. You can wear deodorant, you can bring a brush, a mirror, hairspray, or whatever to your destination, and you can get into shape by biking. And you can check out all the cool bike fashion options, or just wear your normal weather-conscious clothing when you do stuff like wrapping your pant legs if they flare so they don't get caught in your chain or gears. And it'll become easier as your muscles develop. And here's an example of some bike fashion that isn't spandex. Whenever I come into school, I usually have a few people asking me, "Did you bike today?" And either that or they just don't even pay any attention to the fact that I bike to school. I never get any kids who think that I'm stupid or an idiot for biking, but they usually kind of seem in awe of us because they feel like it's going to be too hard for them if they do it, or that they're weak, they think, or that it's dangerous that we'll get run off the road. So I think they might be amazed that we're still alive in the morning and that we must be really strong. But really, I think when you bike in a group, it's a lot easier than you think. And I believe, where's my mic? There's me, I think. And this is on a day where the weather was really bad and we biked to school. And just recently we had a hailstorm, I guess. I wouldn't call it a hailstorm. Sleet. Yeah. When we were biking to school. And so it felt like glass was being thrown on our face, but we all really enjoyed it. It was like an adventure because we like biking, and a lot of kids were amazed by that.
So I think that's the last one for you.
And that's the last one for me, so back to Gina.
Okay, so just real quick to touch on kind of the other things that we do besides biking to school every day and the bike safety education. With the Bike Club, we're really seeking to kind of build a bike culture through Bike Club with the younger kids today, and as they're growing up, hopefully they'll want to keep biking and see it as a viable means of transportation. So we have weekly Bike Club meetings where we have a snack, and then we do like bike games, or we talk about biking and bike events and stuff. And we do a lot of participation in community events. This was us getting ready about 2 weeks ago for a bike parade before the True False Film Festival. We rode downtown with about 15 middle school and junior high kids from Smithton. It's a 4.5-mile ride from Smithton to downtown. We all rode down together, decorated our bikes, and participated in the parade. Another thing that we do is we work on fundraisers. So this was Earth Day last year. The kids did what's called a bike spa, which is a mini, kind of a mini bike tune-up that the kids are able to do. They do it for a small donation, and then they use the money from that donation to purchase a bicycle and a bike ambulance, which is like a long bike cart that can carry a patient in it for a village in Zambia, Africa. And this year they are working to do another one. So they just started another bike spa fundraiser a couple weeks ago, and they're going to be doing it again this year on Earth Day. And then we also each year go to Bike Day at the Capitol, which is coming up in April, so that the kids have a chance to go to Jefferson City and talk to our state lawmakers about bicycling and walking to school and the importance of making roads safe for everybody, for all road users. And they participate in legislative bike ride. And last year, a lot of the legislators and bike advocates were very impressed by these kids and how well they rode and their control on the streets and their knowledge of traffic and road skills and stuff. So we just do a lot to try to build the bike culture in addition to riding every day through all different types of weather to show kids that it's possible. And then just kind of as we leave today, I really like to think about the hopes and the possibilities for this generation. The quote at the top is from a text I got last winter from Sophia one day. It says, "Want to bike, rent say too cold," with a frowny face. It was, I think, about 15 degrees, and her mom and dad wouldn't let her ride because they felt if it was below 20, it was too cold for her to ride, but she still wanted to. You know, that was the thing. She was disappointed and wanted me to know how disappointed she was about it. And then this other picture to the lower right of your screen was our first day back after a 20-inch blizzard last winter. And, oh, I'm sorry, left of your screen. The one with the snow in it. And the last bit of our ride every day, we have to walk across the soccer field and this big field around the back of the school. And as we approached the field, I was thinking, okay, there's going to be 1.5 feet of snow on this field, and the kids aren't going to be able to ride their bikes. And, like, you know, what are they going to do? But I didn't say anything. I just thought, let's just go and see what happens, and if we have to go around the front on the street, we will. It's not that big of a deal. And we just walked up to the edge. We actually rolled up to the edge, and the kids are like, well, snow's too deep. It's going to be easiest to just carry the bikes. And they all threw their bikes on their shoulders and just started walking. It was like, you know, they just had this problem-solving skill, like, okay, there's a hurdle, and this is how we're going to deal with it. They didn't think twice about it. They didn't panic or what are we going to do. They just walked. And then what's really most encouraging to me is this picture right here of the West Junior High bike racks. West Junior High is the school where these kids go after they leave Smithton. There is no bicycle program there currently, and these are kids who've gone to Smithton and now are at West. And this is 18 bikes that were on the rack this morning. In previous years, there have hardly been any bikes there at all, maybe 3 bikes on a nice day. This year, every single day this year, there's been at least 10 bikes there, even in the coldest winter, because the kids are still biking. And these are almost all Bike Brigade kids or Bike Club kids, and then now they're kind of recruiting some of their friends to start biking too. So they're still biking as they're moving up to the higher levels and using bikes as a way to get around as their main means of transportation. And so that's what we've got to share today. So if you have questions, I think we have some time for some questions.
Well, thank you very much to both Gina and Kyle. And I do want to apologize to everyone again about the little bit of static that we were having there. I'm not exactly sure what's causing it, whether it's one of our 3 phones, the speakers, or whether it's just our 1-800 number. So, again, I do apologize for that. If you could just give me one moment, I'll put up the speaker's contact information, and then we will dive into our questions. There we go. Okay, we've got lots of questions, so we might as well get started. And, Kyle, why don't I start with you? We'll give Gina a little bit of a rest, let her rest up her voice. But, Gina, do feel free to jump in if you find that there are any questions that you think you could also add to it. I do think that a lot of these questions are appropriate for both of you. So here's one that's come in a number of different ways from a number of different folks. So I'll throw it out to you first, Kyle. And the question is really about liability and insurance. Like, what kind of waivers, permissions, and insurance coverage do you use, if any, and how do you kind of deal with the liability issue and the assumption of risk? Kyle? Hello? I think we might have lost our speaker. Gina, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you think you can wait while we wait for him to come back?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
And I know our situation is very different from Kyle's, but with being sort of an established coalition here in town that's been in business, I think we celebrate our 11th anniversary this year. So our program is really coming more out of like we're an organization offering this program. Our biggest thing is, like I said, that we make sure that our students who participate have been through the Bike Pro curriculum so they understand traffic laws and safety and how to ride safely on the road. And then I mentioned the bike safety contract. So we have a contract about like behavioral expectations, how you need to ride, you need to follow traffic rules, and then make sure that each child and parent signs those at the beginning of every school year. Sure that that's on file, and then we also like are in contact with the families and stuff. But it's mainly with the bike safety contract. Training the kids to be safe cyclists, and then also the leaders have like a minimum requirement of what they need to have as far as training, which is the Traffic Skills 101 course, and then they also do rides with me, kind of supervising and making sure that they're keeping an eye on what they need to do to keep the kids safe.
Hey, Michelle, I think I'm back on.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we got you.
All right. Yeah, so we've talked a lot about liability issues. And so the Bike Train PDX organization is sort of under the purview of this nonprofit organization in Portland. And the nonprofit organization sort of lends its nonprofit status to groups that are trying to do cool things around biking and walking in the city. And there's actually a lawyer on that board, which is really helpful.
Yeah,
and this liability issue has come up multiple times. And his suggestion is to make sure that whatever you do, that you do your due diligence. And anybody can basically sue anybody at any time. There's nothing to really stop anybody on this call could probably sue me for something. Hopefully they won't. But as long as you can say that you've provided and done your due diligence, that you're okay. And if something did happen, in Portland we have some liability insurance under this sort of umbrella group, and then also it would probably be covered under people's homeowners insurance. But in Portland, the way that our bike trains work is that most of the time parents are riding along with the bike trains too. So liability has never really been an issue. And the only crash that we've ever had is we were waiting at an intersection, and this little dog ran into the middle of the street and got run over by a car in front of this bike train that was waiting in the intersection, and that was pretty horrifying for all the kids. But the dog was okay. But yeah.
Okay, so no permission slips or anything like that, or waivers, anything like that you don't have to
No, yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that would be logistically challenging.
And our advice from the lawyer was that even with those waivers, they don't really mean anything. And it makes it a lot more difficult for people to sort of join if you're having to keep track of waivers too.
True. Okay, well, since I have you on the phone now, Kyle, I'm going to keep throwing a few more questions at you.
Yeah.
A couple of you had questions about the family bike rental program.
Yeah.
How did you fund it, and where do you store the bikes over the summer?
Yeah, that's a cool question. So the family bike rental program, it's sort of a partnership with a bicycle shop. And so we had like a fundraising party at the beginning of the year to sort of raise, I think we raised maybe like $400 to buy all the bikes wholesale and all the gear. And then they're stored at a bicycle shop. And so and the bicycle shop covers the sort of the liability. They do bike rentals. And they agreed to take on this family bike rental thing too. And so families can go to the bike shop and rent the bikes directly from them, and then they return the bikes to the bike shop too. And the bike shop likes it because they get more families coming to their shop that are interested in riding bikes but don't have bikes already. And then during the summertime, the bike shop is going to be able to sort of rent out the bikes however they want to, or we might just lend them to a family for the whole summer too. We haven't come to that yet.
Well, that's a great idea to kind of partner with a neighborhood bike shop or something. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, here's another one, kind of a two-part question again. And this one, Gina, you may also have an answer for this one. The question is, with a lot of people in the bike train, did you engage a police escort or presence? And then the second half of it would be, and it's kind of a different question, but have you ever experienced friction with car drivers who see bike trains as blocking traffic? And if so, how did you address that?
The only friction that we've actually had is from another bicycle rider who complained online about how he had to slow down because of the bike train, and he had to go around the bike train. But we've never tried to get a police escort. We had the mayor came out on one of the bike rides, and he had some bike police that came out with him, and that was kind of fun to have the police on bikes join us, and they got to meet with the kids and talk with them. But it's not a regular thing.
Okay. And then from our perspective, actually, Sophia wants to answer the question about the car drivers, but we also have not used the police. I mean, we've you talked to the school police officer in the school about protocols for biking, like right around the school and on school property. But Sophia wants to address the other question about automobile drivers. Okay.
We've had a couple of people shout rude things at us, and most of the time we just ignore them, or we don't even hear what they say. But it's actually sometimes kind of amusing because we're following the laws, and they don't realize that we're SO vehicles, not pedestrians. And I don't think we've ever had anything thrown at us, but we've had some near misses sometimes and stuff like that because they think we're pedestrians and we don't belong on the road.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Deal with it.
One of the other suggestions that I'd have for that is that I think one of the best ways to sort of deter people from maybe shouting things is to, if you decorate your bike and make it sort of this really interesting thing and have lots of signs sort of saying what it is, what you're doing, I think that helps sort of deter people from making rude comments.
Sure.
And usually whenever they do that, we just smile and wave at them.
That's the attitude. Okay, it looks like we're coming right up to the 2 o'clock hour. Gina, Kyle, and Sophia, do you have maybe 5 extra minutes to answer some more questions?
Yeah, definitely.
We can stay on, yeah.
Okay, we'll just do 5 minutes. We just have a ton of questions, and I'd really hate to cut it off this quickly. So, Gina, I'll put another one towards you. Someone was wondering how often your bike club meets.
We meet every Thursday here at Smithson. The science teacher is one of our school sponsors, and so we meet every Thursday from 3 to 4:30. Okay. And actually, we have bikes that we keep here at school because we have about 3 or 4 kids who come who don't have. 2 of them don't have bikes. They really like bikes, but they don't have their own bikes. And then 1 lives out in the country and so can't bike to school. So we keep about 4 bikes at school, so other kids can participate even if they don't have a bicycle with them. And we have like 1 or 2 West Junior High kids who want to be in bike club, and they go ahead and bike over and join us here at Smith too. So
that's great. Okay, and this one might actually be for both Gina and Kyle. And the question is, are all of the bike brigade or bike train riders required to wear helmets? And if so, is there financial assistance to make sure that all students have a properly fitted helmet?
As far as bike brigade, we do require the kids to wear helmets, and we have never had the question come up of, like that somebody couldn't afford to get one. But if we did, I would certainly do everything I could to get them a good helmet.
Yeah, we also encourage the bike trains to have all the riders wear helmets. And a lot of the schools actually have donated helmets sort of stored at the schools, and I know of a couple of bike train riders that have sort of given out those helmets to some families, or and then in the buckets that we made, I gave each bike train leader an extra nutcase helmet that they could store in the helmet or in the bucket to sort of give to anybody that maybe forgot their helmet or didn't have one.
Great. Okay, let's see. Gina, this one will probably be mostly for you. Do you feel that participation rates decline as you require students to complete a cyclist safety course?
Not exactly. For the most part, that hasn't really been a problem. I think, of course, we don't have huge numbers like Kyle does either, because we kind of are doing it at sort of a different focus, more about like, year-round, transportation for life kind of a focus. But that hasn't really been a hurdle. I mean, if somebody has a problem with the cost of the class or something, we certainly do everything that we can to make it possible for them to participate with the class. Even like my boss last weekend worked with a boy who really wanted to ride with us. We didn't have a class scheduled, so he just went out and spent about 3 hours working with him one-on-one to make sure that he knew what he needed to know. And so, we do everything we can to facilitate that for students. And I think that the families, I know that the parents feel much more confident knowing that their kids have taken the class and knowing that their kids understand how to bike safely and legally and what the laws are and stuff. So it really hasn't, I don't feel like it's really too much of a hurdle for us.
Sure. Okay, let's see. And this next question is for both of you. And the question is, do either of your schools have, either of your schools' phys ed programs contain bicycle education? Kyle, do you want to go first?
Well, in Portland we have a bike education program that goes to all the fifth graders, and so the bike advocacy group goes to 40 different elementary schools throughout the school year, and it's a 2-week-long course where they bring in a fleet of bikes and work with the kids for 1 hour every day for those 2 weeks, and then go out and sort of practice riding bikes in the street, practice like hand signals, and sort of talk about how you ride a bike in the city.
Yeah, and we don't have anything with the schools directly. We continue to try working with them here in Columbia to become either part of the PE curriculum or some other way. And there is a program that I've started working on just this semester at one of the local high schools. We have a local alternative high school, and I've started working as part of a outdoor sciences class. 1 day a week I do bike education and work with the kids in that school, but we don't have anything in the PE programs. That's not to say we're not trying. So we're still working on it.
Yeah. And Gina, do the current classes that the students take, does that cost anything, or are they free?
Yeah, no, they are a cost class. They're a fee-based class that our organization does. We would love to do them for free, and we just don't have the funding. We're always kind of looking for funding of ways to bring more bike education to people, but they are currently fee-based classes. But like I said, we do try to work with families who can't afford it to make sure that it's not prohibitive to anybody.
Sure. Okay, let's see. Here's another question just came in to Kyle and Gina. Have you ever had a school turn you down for the program? And if so, what's your approach to change your mind or change their mind? Kyle?
Well,
you're out
with
in Portland, they're pretty bike friendly out there.
Yeah, but there's definitely some like administrators that are more hesitant. Actually, the school that we started the bike train at, Beach, 2 years before we had the bike train there, it was actually against the school rules to ride your bike to school.
Wow.
But that's not really the case anymore. But I mostly just work with parents, and it's sort of outside of sort of the school administrators. So it's sort of like I don't know, it's not as directly related to the school, so you don't necessarily need to have permission from the school to do a bike train, like you wouldn't need permission from a school to run a carpool or something.
Sure.
But it definitely does help to have the support. And I think that the other thing that we've really found is that once principals sort of see the bike trains and sort of see all these people biking to school, and that they get on board. And there's the principal at Beach who joined the bike train, and he commented that, you know, the parents that are biking to school are the ones that are walking their kid to the classroom and sort of getting to know what the classroom looks like, talking to the teachers, and he saw a lot of value in that as opposed to the parents that just drop their kids off in the car and drive off.
Sure.
And so he sort of became to support the bike trains a lot. And we've had another principal who he dyed his hair if the bike train got over 100 people. And so I think that the way that you win the administrators over is sort of by having them sort of see what this can do. Because biking to school is kind of a new thing in the United States, or it's something that we've definitely forgotten a lot about how to do and what sort of what it looks like. And so I think seeing is believing.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would just add, like, I mean, I haven't gone into lots and lots of schools like Kyle has, so that school interface, but at my kids' old elementary school, I think like the second to last year that I was at that school, we got a new principal, and she developed a new policy, and it said, we prohibit biking to school because of the dangerous traffic. And so when that was pointed out to me by one of my parent friends who rode bikes quite a lot, the night before school started, I called everybody I knew who had a bicycle who lived between my house and the school, and the next morning we all rode to school together with our children. So like 45 people showed up at school that morning, the first day of school that she started on their bike. And I went and explained to her that the whole reason there is dangerous traffic is because nobody bikes to school. And if you have that kind of a policy, you're just increasing dangerous traffic. And that's kind of nutty. And we're going to be biking to school. And so they changed the policy very quickly.
Good for you guys. Okay, great. Well, we'll do one more question. Sophia, if you're up for it, this one actually came in for you. And the question is, what is your advice or tips to leaders on how to engage students in developing a bike culture?
Okay, well, some kids might look at biking as not cool, but a lot of people, if they have friends that bike, and then those friends that do bike can encourage their friends to bike with them on, maybe say, it's my birthday, bike with me. And so instead of getting, like, that could be their free gift, birthday gift. Or you could go into the schools, and I think that a lot of kids, they really care about stuff. They want to help things, and so if you go into schools and you give presentations on maybe, like, the harmful effects of pollution or how, like,
I think our phone just cut out. So
there we go. Do you have us?
Yep, I got you back.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, then a lot of kids would want to do something, and one of those options would be to bike to school. Or you could coolify biking gear. Kids really like neon colors, and neon colors are really visible. And so if you help biking gear get away from that crunchy imagery where only hippies bike or only people in spandex bike, then and start with it change the imagery that's associated with biking, then that could also be cool. And also bike parades. People get really excited about parades here, and so we've had a few bike parades, and a lot of people will comment to me and say, that was so cool, I wish I could do something like that. And the thing is, they can. And so from bike parades, that can help raise awareness for that. And also, bike promoting clothing either gives them away on bike days or something like that. But people like graphic tees and neon colors, like I said. And so just really appeal to what kids find cool.
Great.
And that's
some great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you to all three of our speakers, and again, thanks attendees for sticking with us. I know we went a bit past 2. Usually I won't do that, but we had so many great questions, I didn't want to cut it off early. So Kyle, Gina, and Sophia, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having us.
Thanks. And one question that did come up quite a bit that I didn't really throw out to our speakers was just on funding. And the reason I kind of saved that one is, one, we ran out of time, but two, next month's webinar is actually on finding funding for your Safe Routes to School programs. That will be on April 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The registration is not up yet, but should be up within the next day or so. So if you're on our email list, which you should be if you're on this webinar, then you'll get an email about that. You can also go to the America Walks website or the National Center for Safe Routes to School website, which is up on your screen right now. And otherwise, I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and thank you, speakers, and we hope to have you all on with us next month. So good afternoon, everyone.